Okay. So now the compete is, and we were just talking about a guy before this. This is him to a T. Okay.
To a T.
To a T. So
frustrating.
Should be a signed NHL player.
Yeah.
Because he's got the skill, he's got the shot. He has I wouldn't say his hockey sense is a 5 out of 5, but I'd say it's at least a 3. Yeah. Skates unbelievable, and he's great when there's no body checking. But as soon as there's a little bit of compete factor, like brutal, brutal. And every scout says that I talk to says, yeah, it's great when there's no hitting or when it's a scrimmage, but as soon as it gets competitive, can't play. And there it is. So you look at people that go, like, look at them skate, look at this, that's fine. But now when the game's on the line or it gets a little bit tougher, or do you actually compete? Because that is actually the game. There's battles all over the ice. Do you ever win one? Or do you want the easy battles? And if you just want the easy stuff, you can't play, right? So what is compete? It's forecheck, it's back check, it's winning battles. It's going to the hard areas of the ice and going there, maybe angry, maybe going there first, going there with a purpose. It's do you show off in tough games, right? It's easy to play the games when a team's on the third game in 3 days, and they're tired and they got bus legs and all that stuff, and they're on the road, and maybe it's a softer team or whatever. Those are the easy games. Or a weaker team, that's easy to play. It's playing that tough game. Are you hard to play against? Like, you need to be hard to play against, because if you're not, then I want to play against you. Everybody wants to play against you. That's the fun part. Playing against someone that doesn't want to compete, oh man, all day. Do you give second effort? Do you give third effort, fourth? So I mean, I go in for a battle and a loose puck, and I miss it, and I bobble it, and then I go back and get it, and I take a hit, and I lose it, and I back check and steal it, or I go to the net and I whack at a puck 2-3 times. Second and third effort. That's what a compete is, because you want it really, really bad. If someone gives you a shove or a push, or in a game someone's, did you ever feel like, just maybe I'm going to cross check you across the back of across the back because I just feel like it right now? Or is it like, oh, I that's not that's I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings? Or someone gives you a shot, do you give it back? Do you take a number and say, okay, you're coming next time? I'm going to take, you're not going to like playing against me. You're going to know what kind of sticks do we use now? CCM or whatever. You can feel what that it feels like on the back of the legs, right? And stand up for yourself, stand up for your teammate. That's what the compete is. And can I count on you in the games that are tight? And you have a freaking pulse, man. And if you don't, like, I'm just saying, I'll take a kid, and I think I have this later, but I'll take a kid that can compete harder than anybody and has a little bit of hockey sense and has a little bit of skill, that can't really skate well, like say he's a 2 or 3, over a kid that can do all those other things and can't compete. 1,000%.
So this is a common one that people have problems with, and I remember having an issue with it when I was a kid, the compete part, because there's an element of it is like, well, for me at least, when I was a kid, it's like I was a nice kid, and like when it gets hard in the corners, I was just thinking about like playing hockey. I wasn't thinking about like, I'm gonna hammer you, bro. Like, that wasn't in me. I didn't have it. And then as I got older, like a little bit older, I was still young, but it was just kind of like, I didn't know what it meant, compete. Like, you gave examples of it, but this is a common thing that parents ask about too. It's like, my kid doesn't have like they got skill, they're good at the game, they love playing, but they don't have that grittiness, or they don't have that compete thing. So what would you say, like, I know you gave examples of where you can find it, maybe how to practice it, or how to figure out how to pull it out of yourself, because I don't believe that it's just a thing you have or you don't. I think it's a thing that you can train, because I remember doing it with me. And part of it was, my dad had the sense, he put me in boxing when I was in grade 7. And that was like, oh, okay, well, if I don't punch somebody, I'm going to get punched, and I don't want to get punched. So then I started punching, and it's like, oh, okay, this is part of toughness. I get it. That makes sense. Or just like really digging deep when you're gassed at the end of a shift, and like still giving that extra effort, or that extra little bit. So what are some things or some strategies, let's say, you would say to help to train that, or help to bring that out of your kid, whether it's, practice driving the net? Like, that's an element of compete. Like, the D's going to be leaning on you, and you still got to try to get there. Like, those kinds of things. Like, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, I think, okay, I'm not disagreeing you, but I'm gonna disagree just a little bit. I think there's a lot of like I think there's certain kids that are very, very competitive just by
I
nature.
agree with that
Yeah.
for sure. There is a
So
nature
yeah,
aspect to it for
like
sure.
you take some kids and if you play darts, they not like a baby, but they like they'll argue. No, that was out. That was it. Like it's like no. They have to win, right? And then if it's like you beat them 7 times in a row, they're like, well, let's just play one more. They do not understand that they actually are not as good. I'm gonna win. And then if they win the one game, that's like it might be okay. We're good. That's a competitor. That's a competitor. There's a guy that if you get naturally, some kids are. Well, you don't be fooled though. Some guys are first in the corner every single time because they have that compete level. I want to be first, and they'll just fight for pucks. That's compete. Now sometimes it's just because they're bigger and better. It's when everything evens out when it counts. So, great question. How do you fix compete? Like I think parents. Let me say this first. I think a lot of kids don't know what that means, as you said, right? Because you're raised. A lot of people are raised to be good people. So be a good sport. Don't slash anyone. If I see you break your stick, play fair, and all that stuff. And it's good. You want to have good qualities, but within reason, right? So like when my son was growing up, he likes being rough and he thinks fighting's cool. But I also set a rule that you are not allowed to fight in youth hockey. Not allowed. You can hit, and I always warn them, hitting from behind, that's you got to be careful because someone could get hurt. So you teach them within the rules and respecting other people. But youth hockey ain't fight. No chance. You fight, then we're fighting. Like no, we have a huge issue. You're not playing anymore because there's no need. So okay, within the confines of that, what are you allowed to do? Right? So I, as parents, we've encouraged that aggressiveness in them. You need because even outside of hockey, I don't want a meek person. I want to have a very nice. I want all three of my kids to be very nice, very polite, very well liked if they can. That's not the most important thing, but I also want them to say when it comes down to like if they're in sales or getting a job, I don't want them to say, well, either him or me, whatever. No, I want the job, man. I want the job. I want a future. So part of that is parenting, like teaching them like desire to win, desire to compete, and desire not to quit. And then within the game of hockey is teaching them like um, I've noticed when you're playing that you can go to the net a little bit harder. Okay, well, yeah, but dad, and he gives you more excuses than a pregnant nun. Okay, I like your excuses, but you need to go there because that's what it will help your team. You give the team aspect, your own personal aspect, um, and you paint pictures of what a competitor is. You watch in a hockey game, or you're watching someone say that's what happens when someone competes. That's a competitor, and you paint that picture, right? You watch rivalry, let's say the Red Wings and Colorado, and you see the competitors, right? And it's not about fighting; it's about in the battle every single time. You show a guy that's just a hard worker, like one of the guys on Charlie's team. He's 5'2". I'm joking, but Nemestikov, right? He's a smaller, thick guy. That guy competes, man. He goes, he'll fight a big guy. He'll go in every battle. He loses a puck and it's back, and it's like hack whack and get it back. That's a competitor, and there's something about watching a competitor. Like I don't care who you are. When you watch someone compete for something, you feel something inside you that you know that's a good thing, and everybody wants that. You want to be that guy. It's Rocky, right? That's what makes Rocky so great is he just wouldn't quit. So that's the competitor. So I know you said, but what else do you do? I know. So I think it's very important that you do things that are hard, right? So you make your kid aware that if he wants to be a hockey player, that these are the things that you have to have a competitor. Now let's do something hard. So if a kid's like just straight out scared, then help him get through scary things, right? I'm not saying boxing. I'm not saying that. It could be one. It could be jujitsu. It could be uh, doing things that are hard to show them how to muck through things, right? It could be playing games at home, and it's like showing them that you quit, and just recognize that if your kid quits on certain times, just make them aware. Like it just seems like when things are difficult or whatever, you don't like to keep going, and you need to fix this. Um, shit like that. Shit
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
that's good. I think just sorry to clarify my own position. I'm not saying that I think you can turn a guy that has no bite to him at all into Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah,
You can't do
and
it.
that's not what
Like,
we're talking about,
no,
anyways.
I'm talking like if you are to maximize to whatever degree a kid has competitiveness, what would you do? And that's the answer that you just gave. That's good because I agree. Like, there's some kids that just have it, man, and there's like a genetic component to that where they just have the bite in them. But it's like I know Charlie and I talk about this all the time because we like talking about fighting stuff. I tell him like the guys that I think are tough are like Nate Diaz, guys that have been fighting since they were 7 and had no choice but to fight, and they just got a dog in them that you can't compete. Like, that is tough to me, for me personally. I don't think I'm not tough, but I'm not like that. I don't have that in me. So I know that there's a level of genetic component that's in there, which I understand. But if you want to try to pull out as much as you can, I think those examples you gave are great. And I also think that it's kind of the same as saying make them do hard things, but you put them in difficult environments. Put them in challenging or tough environments. That doesn't mean dangerous or stupid. Just put them in a tough environment. And I remember like I don't know why my dad thought to do that with me, put me in boxing. But I remember grade 7, I remember walking into Border City downtown, and it is like grungy, old, stinks a bit. Everything's a little broken, at least while I was doing it. And yeah, and I remember walking in there just like, this place, like, I don't fit in here. Like, I remember thinking
You're
that
from the wrong
yeah,
side of the
yeah,
tracks,
wrong side. I remember just like going in there
unless
thinking
you're
that,
not.
and it helped me to see like guys that grind, guys that show people walking in with a black eye, and then talking to them and then being really nice people, right? And like this is where the difference was. It's like, just because you're getting in fights doesn't mean you're a loser or a criminal or a whatever. Because they come up and chat, they give me knuckles every time we talk. I'm in grade 7. I'm whatever, however old that is, 13 maybe, and I don't belong in here. But then me saying like, oh, they're really nice, but they're also really tough or really strong. Like, how do those things line up? And it started to work itself out in my head how you can still be a good person and be a nice person and be non-aggressive when you should be non-aggressive, but then turn it on when it's time to turn it on, And that was something that it really helped me, being in an environment where I could see it. And that goes to your point about maybe using stories or using movies or whatever, where they can get these lessons through a story as opposed to you just saying the lesson, because it's hard to know when you just say it, when you can see it and you can see how the story plays out. That's why those Rocky movies are so great. It's not because they're a great movie. Like, he's not a fantastic actor. Like, the
Can't
boxing,
box either.
yeah, the boxing isn't like it's great boxing, but it's just the story. You can relate to the story as a kid, and that's how you can start to learn it. So I think
Well,
that's a really good answer.
I just love it. I mean, my life is a little science lab, right? And I love it. Like, take 5 or 10 kids up to the hill. You'll see who competes. Or do our another example is when we do our sprint starts. Is you'll watch and you'll see some guys, they go and it's like every race matters, and then you'll see the guys that are not competitive. They'll look and they'll see who they're against, and there's always a reason why they can't go against them, or they can't beat them, or if they do, it's like they're real sheepish about it. But it's like the competitiveness is just like, oh, okay, I got to go against the fast guy. He's going to make me look stupid, right? Whereas you get the competitive guy, it's funny, man, because they yell at the end, "I got you,
Yeah, every time.
I got you," or you cheated." Like, they can't lose.
I know, and I'm sitting here just like,
I laugh.
boys, like, it's not a
Yeah.
race, man.
But
Like,
it
it
is
is a race.
It's and it's important that it is a race.
Yeah.
And then, or you'll see like they are going against a little faster one, and they're trying to get the jump. They're cheating. Yeah, you're cheating. You want to win. That's the competitiveness. So you look at your kid, you put them in situations like that. You say, okay, I can see that my kid, when he goes against bigger, stronger, faster, better, whatever, he goes backwards and he doesn't want to actually push himself. So you got to learn how to navigate that, like push through those harder things, and let them know that it's okay. Like that's what will make you great. And so on the ice, it's the same thing. It's like I want to be clear. It's not just about hitting and fighting and being tough. What it is like, if you're a goal scorer, being competitive is like you're going to get the puck and you're going to put it in the back of the net. And that might take you 3 tries or 3 whacks. You might take a two hand across the forearm, but that scoring that goal and winning that game was more important than your safety. And that's what competitive is, right? And you want the ice. You want to be in the hard situations, not pretend hard. Not I don't want to be there to pretend. I want to actually be there. And there's I know several people that if it takes, getting like I said, breaking a wrist or breaking a thumb to take a slash to put the puck in the net, that's not a problem, right? So it's to me, it's the biggest thing. Period. You compete, I can work with you. Because here's the other thing is because if you compete and you can't skate well, I'm not saying you're not a 0 out of 5, you're maybe a 2 out of 5. I know that your competitive nature when I work with you with skating is that you're going to get it. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be gritty enough to get it. That's what the competitive guy does, because he can't stand not being good at something. You tell a competitive guy that you're off a little bit here, that just sets him off. But and again, it's important not to be a little baby about it, like someone gave me an insult. It's like, okay, I'm going to show you. You're so competitive that you will not, right? So whereas you take a kid that, let's say his competitiveness is like a 1 to 2, like it's kind of there, and he doesn't have the gritty, I'll work through things, not tough, mental tough, or even physically tough. Now, if I tell you we got to work on your skating, and we do something that you don't like and you're not good at, guess what happens? We're not grinding through that. We're going to try to get somewhere else. We're going to find a new trainer because this stuff I'm already good at and all that stuff. They just can't accept it. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good little